Hello everyone, this is Karen Lynn and welcome to Spiritual Split Splash. This is episode 14 and today we're going to be joined by Cindy Michaud, who's a twin flame guide. And these episodes are all about hopeful and heartfelt conversations that guide to greater well-being. Cindy is a twin flame guide and she basically works with people to help them ascend and to enjoy their spiritual journey through this twin flame experience. So I'm very, very excited that she is going to be here with me to talk more about what this experience entails. So let's bring Cindy on. Hi, Cindy. How are you?
Hi, good.
Oh, it's so good to see you and welcome to Spiritual Split Slash. We're so excited to have you here and share all of your knowledge about this amazing twin flame journey and what it entails. But before we get to that, I just wanted to ask you if you would please share a bit about your spiritual journey and kind of like what brought you to this point, so we have some background about you.
It's a long story, so I'll try to keep it fairly short. But for me, it's been a lifelong thing. I've always been connected to my twin flame since I was very little. So, but it's not something that I was very consciously aware of. I thought this person was someone that I had made up originally. And they appeared to me at a time of crisis when I was very young, and then their image was always in my dreams, and we were always communicating through dreams at first and through projection, which I didn't know at the time, but I thought he was my imaginary friend, to be honest with you. And I had a different name for him and everything, and I would write about him in my diary even. And so it's been kind of a very long process for me. And then the whole spiritual awakening, that's always kind of been a thing in my life, where the first big bam was when we met in person.
Okay, how old were you at that point?
I was 18.
Okay, so you had already knew him in a different reality.
In dream space, we didn't know that, right?
Okay. Right.
So nowadays, there's so much information out there. People can actually connect the dots a lot easier. Back then, this was like 20 years ago, we didn't have any information like that.
Wow.
So it was information that was very, it was actually new. It was coming out, but it wasn't mainstream. So I never found out about it. So I didn't know what was happening. I thought I was falling in love. It was my first big romance and all of that. And what I wasn't prepared for, what we were not prepared for, was the psychic activations. The psychic activation.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Because when you meet in real life, usually what happens is you get activated, your chakras come online, and all of a sudden you have really weird experiences. And I think everyone on this journey will have had that, where clairvoyance comes online, past life regressions and dreams and all kinds of things like that.
Yeah.
So that was happening. We were really young, so we had no idea.
Yeah.
So, and then basically throughout our lifetime, we went through the entire twin flame journey together, where it's been the push and pull, the separation, like everything.
Yeah.
Now we're at a point in time where he's actually transitioned. And so now we've had to readjust to a new way of connecting.
Yes.
And through spirit. And now it's been a while now, and we're actually achieving union. So so now what's that?
That's interesting because you went from having him in spirit, then in person, and now back in a sense in spirit. That's
a good point. Thank you for pointing that out, because I've never really thought about it that way. But yeah, you're right. Yeah. So now we're still on the journey, really. And we're going to be on it for, until I transition, basically. So it's a lifelong thing for us. And yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now. It's just learning to be with someone that's in spirit. And then that's, of course, opened me to a lot of other things and a lot of other possibilities, and to my life purpose, really.
Yes. This whole idea of a twin flame is translated in so many different ways. And I'm curious, what is a twin flame in your understanding, being that you're living this journey?
So a twin flame is basically a twin soul, is more how I would rather say it. I don't like the term twin flame. I use it a lot because it's so mainstream and everybody looks for it so they can find me that way.
Right.
But I don't actually like it because to me it's really a twin soul. And it's not a duplicate or replicate. It is really you were one consciousness at one point that decided for whatever reason for soul growth really to quote unquote divide.
Okay.
Even then, I don't like that term either because
Sure.
even when you are two different entities, you are still connected. You know, you're still one at all times. You're just having to experience your own journey more individually in order for the whole soul to grow together. So, and that's the difference between a twin soul and soulmates, because
Okay.
soulmates have always been separate from you, while a twin was once always merged with you. And now,
Okay.
so you unmerged, let's call it unmerging,
Right.
and then now you're on your way back to merging, except you don't lose your consciousness. You're still both have your individual consciousness. Does that make sense? But you
Yes.
can live in a state where you're both merging with each other and you
Okay.
share consciousness that way.
Thinking now that, you know, when I've been researching this topic, everybody has soulmates and they don't necessarily show in a romantic context. It can be your parent, it can be a best friend. Is a twin flame only a romantic context, or is that also open?
No, no, it's very common though, because my personal take on that is it's actually a lot faster for a spiritual awakening for it to be romantic because the spark, the sexual tension, like the Kundalini rise is a lot easier to kickstart if it's a sexual romantic connection. If it's not, that doesn't mean it won't happen. It will. It's just it might be more of a slow burn or it might be felt differently, but you're still going to have that great awakening, that great love, because at the end of the day, what it really is supposed to do is open your heart space.
Yes.
Right, that you can have that portal of light shine through and communicate. So yeah.
Okay, very good. Thank you for that explanation and differentiation with the soulmates, because they're kind of thrown around a lot, you know, especially in the other area of your expertise in tarot card readings. You know, they're like, oh, this is the twin flame, this is your soulmate, and they're used interchangeably, but they're not. They really
They're
are
not.
uniquely different. Okay, does everybody have a twin flame? Does every individual have?
I believe so. Some people don't.
Okay.
Some people think there's certain rules you have to go through, rules of soul evolution. I don't really think that, or I don't really buy into that. Personally, from what I can understand, what I feel is true is that everyone has in this universe, because we live in a universe of love, it makes sense that everyone has their match. Everyone has their, it's because everything in here is about the yin yang. Everything's about the magnetism. What drives us is this magnetism, right? You're called to something. You're called towards someone. For me, it feels truer to think that or feel that everyone has a twin flame. It's just they may not incarnate with you at the same time.
Right. Okay. Or even within proximity that you would connect. Although with the internet, maybe it's easier these days, right?
I mean, because you're so bonded, yeah, you're still going to connect in some way. Like I said, like when we first connected with mine, we weren't even close to each other in geography at all. We were on other sides of the globe, I think, at the time, from what I can remember. Yeah, and then when we became closer, we were on the other sides of the country. And then it took many years for us to be in the same place.
Wow.
So you're going to connect with your twin flames. You can connect with them absolutely at any point in time. There's no limitation or restriction there. It doesn't matter if they're in a different galaxy even.
That is so hopeful. That is so hopeful for people. I know that you work with people and you've been developing this kind of guidance for people. You would phrase it to me kind of like an ascension experience, part of their awakening. It's like just one type of journey. Is that how you
Yeah,
It's a,
so far what I've only been doing is really, I've been doing readings for people, and
mhm,
what's happened is people have come to me. I haven't really advertised it as such that I'm a twin flame guide. It's really just something I've fallen into.
right.
I get messages and people just find me and ask me questions, and then I'm like, well, if I'm just going to be doing this all day anyway,
Right.
I might as well just do it. So my channel, Cafe Peculiar, is
Hmm.
going to be very much about talking about my twin flame journey, not in detail though, but mostly what is helpful for people to know,
Great.
and also sharing my thoughts and opinions on the spiritual community at large as well. So that's basically what I'm doing right now. As for working with people and services, that's something I'm gonna have to figure out
Right.
because I'm still I will be offering tarot readings here again. It's something that I'm doing more as a conversational
Hmm.
style sort
Very
of
good.
thing.
Yep. And
Yeah.
informative. And that leads me just to ask, you have a channel on YouTube. We'll bring attention right now to your socials called Cafe Peculiar, also your Instagram as well, where you have some great content in explaining more about these journeys and concepts, which is so important right now.
Awesome, thanks.
Yeah.
I always I wonder sometimes because like I'm called by spirit to do a lot of this stuff, and I'm like,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah. Like,
A lot of the
okay, you want to
times.
talk about that? Okay. Um,
Yeah, exactly.
but it is interesting. You had mentioned in the most recent video that you produced about this being a time now of love, like we're being called to understand love and grow in love. And I just wanted you to expand a bit more on that because these are such peculiar, I mean, Cafe Peculiar, they're peculiar times. How do people express that love now when we're all distanced? How can we connect on other levels?
For sure. So yeah, my video is talking about what was the number one reason for twin
Hmm.
flames to exist or even be a thing. And it is to remember love and
Yeah.
to open that heart space and to let that love in to because the true reality of it is every soul, I want to underline that on the
Hmm.
planet is love. We are
Yes.
all
Yeah.
made of love, right? And that's really important to understand and live and to apply forgiveness and understanding and empathy and sympathy for others, even those people that we don't feel like offering that to. And that's right now, that's I know I've really experienced this summer. There's a lot of people that triggered me. There's a lot of things in the spiritual community that I did not like,
Yeah.
that I posted about on my Facebook. I was very vocal about it. And then I've had to learn from that and be like, why are you so angry? Why are you so triggered? You know? So part of opening your heart space is you're gonna have to deal with things that are uncomfortable and things and why do you react the way you do,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And address those things, not just be like, oh, well, it's just because of this, and then excuse it and then just not address it. You have to go in and dig into that and address it and heal it. And once you can do that, all of a sudden you have way more patience. And
Yes.
patience is the thing that I'm learning a lot right now. Me and my twin flame. He's a
Okay.
very impatient person, soul. And he's
Yeah.
had to learn that a lot with me. And so we learn that together.
For people who have a desire to connect with their twin flame and they don't, maybe they're making attempts at doing that, but they're not maybe feeling that connection yet. Any advice on how they can work toward achieving that?
I think the biggest advice I would say is to be open to
Hmm.
anything. Really be open to any kind of confirmation or communication because if your twin flame is not incarnate or if they're incarnate somewhere else or whatever the situation may be, the communication may come in a way that you're not expecting. So be open to just about anything.
Okay.
Be open basically also in your intention. Don't I think the biggest thing for me was to when I was trying to connect to my twin flame early in life after we had broken up was to try to connect in a needy way in this desperation type of energy that kind of backfires a lot. So if you try to connect in a very loving way, you just you ask and you surrender to the outcome. And I think that would be the best way to describe it. And I think the terms that I'm using is
Hmm.
something that people in the twin flame community will understand what I'm saying. So that's the type of energy that you need to be in is to ask, to be brave enough to ask, but also to be in a space where you're willing to receive as well.
Sure. Like with everything in life, but particularly
Exactly.
probably in the case of matters of the heart, they defy logic, it's not always
Yes.
something you can understand.
And sorry, and some of the biggest thing I found when it comes to twin flame connection in any romantic relationship, the twin flame connection will absolutely slap you in the face with this. And it's that if you have a made up idea of what your perfect partner is like, just destroy that right now.
Right.
Just get rid of that right now. Throw that out the window because your twin flame may not appear as anything that you imagine. They could be, they're probably even better, but you can't even conceive of that. So
Right.
throw that out right now.
Thank you for sharing that. I'm sure that'll be very valuable. So you meet your twin flame, let's say, like you did, and then you break up. Is that part of the journey? Is there meant to be separation?
I don't believe
Absolutely.
so.
Okay.
No, not at all. It's
Okay.
not a necessary step. There's no
Okay.
necessary steps.
Okay.
It's just that we live in a very dense, complicated world that overcomplicates everything.
Yeah.
And, there's just a lot of density to deal with and negativity. And unfortunately, that acts as blocks and challenges to the connection, but it's not something that you have to do.
Okay.
And I'm hoping that the further we go into this ascension, the more the decades go by, the
Yeah.
easier these connections are
Oh,
because
that would be
they're
great.
supposed
Yeah.
to be easy. They're not supposed to be hard.
Okay. So they're supposed to flow and
Yeah,
work as we probably individually work through our stuff. We become purer and easier to move through the universe as well.
exactly.
But when you do break up, let's say you do go through a separation, that's tough. That's probably, I would just imagine it's harder when it's your twin flame, more intense.
Yeah, so I was kind of unfortunate because this person was my first person that I ever dated. So I didn't know better.
Yeah.
So he would be easier to ask, but I actually had no idea. I thought it was hard because it was my first love.
Yeah.
So for me, I really had no point of reference. Now I do because I've had a soulmate after this. And I'm going to tell you that the twin flame breakup is absolutely the worst thing ever.
Yeah, I can see
It
that being
is.
very intense.
Because what I found is with the soulmate is once you're ready to move on from the soulmate, it actually is kind of comforting. It's you feel stronger and you still have a lot of empathy for your soulmate and love for them, but you don't feel that pull.
Yeah.
You don't feel that yearning. The
Right.
twin flame, you just feel that anyway. So that's why it's awful.
It's but
The
not
only
but don't avoid it. Don't avoid it. It's just
Yeah, the caveat would be that if you're meant to meet your twin flame and then let them go, if that's the contract you have, the agreement that you have, then it'll be easy because that's what's supposed to happen.
Okay.
But in my case, we were supposed to have a romantic bond the whole way through. So our yearning to be together was just tremendous. And that's why it was so painful because we were literally fighting against destiny. So that's hard. When you fight your own soul contract, it's really hard.
I can imagine, and something probably we can't understand on all the dimensions that it exists. So you just get a fraction of it. You just get a small understanding. There's a question here for you. Is there a possibility of having the chance of sharing a flame as community based on the idea of couples? How could we empower?
From what I can take from that is basically you have. I don't want to say you just have one twin flame because that's not even super accurate, but generally speaking, you have one twin flame. Let's just keep it there. And then everybody else is that's in your soul family is a soulmate. Okay. But the thing at the end of the day, if you want to go way back to source, we're all the same. We're all the same souls. We're all connected. So the twin flame really, at the end of the day, just opens you up to the love of everybody. That's what love of God is. That's, it's because in a sense, yes, you can experience a twin flame love globally and with everybody because that's what it does. It's like a trigger. It's a doorway so that we can have love for everyone as well.
Like unconditional love. For the world.
That's totally the whole thing is to open you to unconditional love because through this process of ascending we're going to a place where that will be very real. We need to get used to it.
Yes.
And we used to have that, right? Like we talk about the fall, but I don't want to go into that too much, but this is why we're going back up, is because we used to be up here,
Okay.
and then we were like, let's experience density. Yay. So we went down. Now we're going back up, basically, in a very like Coles Note version of what it is.
I love that explanation because it just settles in to your being, like, okay, it may suck, when you have a breakup or you meet someone that brings up this intensity and it's there for your growth and all that. And then it breaks up, or there's something happens, or they pass on, or whatever happens, to maybe just accept it really deeply, because it's all part of it.
Totally. The sooner you accept that it is what it is, and to not fight it, and to just let it flow, is the easiest. Things will resolve itself.
Yeah.
Also, when you are in separation, where you think there's a breakup, whatever happens, use that time. You can use that time wisely to deal with your own crap. Oh, and this will actually also help the twin flame as well, because you're reflecting each other. So the more healing you do, and I don't want to send people on the like crazy like healing bender, because I've seen that happens once in a while, where people just like, I gotta heal everything. Like, take it easy, right? Just address the things that need to be addressed, that are coming up, that are surfacing, and just get on with your life. Be happy, man. Like, just experience life, because that's why we're here. We're incarnated to experience the earth, so experience it. Don't be like, I can't do these things because of A, B, C, and D, whatever. Just no, do it.
And be easy on yourself, because I know when we all get onto this healing path, you can be like, oh, once you see one thing, it's like you think you're healed, and then it comes back and you got a whole other bunch of things to heal, and it can be overwhelming. To take all that on. I would agree with what you're saying in terms of the reflection, like when you work on yourself and your help, because I think you help everybody in the world when you're the collective, but particularly that one person, would they feel it? Like if you were like your twin flame, so he feels when you heal something and become more whole?
Yeah, I think,
wow.
yeah. Oh, well, for sure now, absolutely. Back then, though, I'm just thinking back when he was incarnate. I think so, and I think it does help. It's just you may not be conscious of it, but you're going to feel something loosen, and all of a sudden, what happens is you start sharing things. You start sharing interests and hobbies. And all of a sudden, when you clear something and you're like, I'm really passionate about pottery, and all of a sudden your twin flame's like, I'm going to go get, a pottery class for out of nowhere. And you may not have talked to each other in the longest time, and this kind of stuff happens. So every time you clear something, it clears the chakra energy. So that energy can go through. And when energy passes from you to them, then you start to share your life much more deeply. Everything's energy, right?
So beautiful. So beautiful. What would be the one thing that you would recommend to somebody with respect to twin flame energy? The most important thing. Yeah, one thing the most important thing I should know about twin flame energy.
Okay, so the worst thing for me anyway might just been blame. Is putting blame, is blaming your twin for whatever. That energy will block absolutely everything. So, and that's for me, it's been really challenging to work through that, and being very angry. On the flip side, if you are angry at them, is to acknowledge it as soon as possible. Like as soon as it comes up, do not say, because we think our twin flames is the most perfect person in the universe. Usually this is what happens. Like I thought he was God, like really, like, so I would be angry at him, but I wouldn't let myself feel the anger, because I'm like, well, he's just so perfect. I can't be angry at him. I would find all these reasons why. And I always be like, it's my fault that this happened. It's not his fault. And so I suppressed that anger. So when I finally allowed myself to blame him and to be angry at him, and it was awful. It was like an inferno. It was terrible. So I think the best advice I would give is to allow that anger, deal with it, and acknowledge that, you both had a part to play in that, because you're both in this together. It's not his fault. It's not your fault. It's your guys' fault. It's both of you.
Yeah. Hard to do in practice, but thank you. Thank you for that reminder, because it's really good to keep that into mind. We have a question also from Moonlight Wisdom Tarot. Can you speak on healing breakups in the soul realm? How can you connect on a soul level?
I can try. It's not something I'm super great at, to be honest. Just because I think for myself, I'm actually am dealing with that with my own, not with my twin flame, but with my soulmate connection. I think he's still going through a lot of healing, and I dream about him a lot. And he comes to me through dreams, and we communicate that way. And I think we just allow that energy and just look at the different scenarios that come up. So for me, so in my dreams, there's different scenarios that happen that show me where the pain is. And so when I wake up and when I'm like, okay, I think about it, I'm like, all right, what is that telling me? What do I need to address? What do I need to forgive? Because that's the biggest thing too, is that I find that a lot of when that happens with my ex is there's a lot of things that I have not forgiven him for, or that he hasn't forgiven himself for or me for. And that's I think the biggest theme, at least for me, is to learn forgiveness, and that's how you move on. And the biggest thing is forgiving yourself, but also forgiving them for whatever transgressions you think they've had. Because again, denial is such a huge thing when it comes to breakup, I think, because we tend to pass the blame to other things. We tend to find reasons for things, and we don't know. If you're just pissed off for whatever reason, just say it. Just acknowledge it. Again, in the soul realm, you can do meditations if you want and really visualize that person that you're connected to and see what comes up, and be really honest in your interactions. If you want to yell at them, yell at them. And then you'll find that once you do that, you'll actually flip the coin, and all of a sudden you'll want to hug them really tight and be like, I'm sorry, I forgive you, I love you.
Yeah, I think everyone's really curious about twin flames. It seems like something you want. I don't know. It's just the way it sounds. I'm like, I want that.
It's true though, but you know what? For a really long time in my journey when I was young, I used to honestly have this thought, and I would think about my twin flame, and I was like, if I could choose someone to love, it wouldn't be you. Like you'd be the last person, and it's because I was so magnetically drawn to him, and it was like for me it felt toxic. It felt like an addiction, and it can feel very, very much like that when you're fighting it. When you're fighting it, it can feel like the worst possible thing that can happen because you can't control it. You feel out of control, you feel crazy. It's just like a spiritual awakening. You feel like, and nobody understands you, because literally all my friends, my family was like, you need to get over this guy. Like, this is unhealthy. This is not good. You're not thinking about yourself, and you will get that kind of feedback, right? And he was getting the same thing from his entourage, from his family, right? He was like, this girl's not even all that. Like, what the hell? Yeah, you could do better. All of those things. And
saying here, yes, oh my goodness, it does feel like a codependency.
It does, but it's not a codependency, and I'll tell you why. Because it is the only relationship that you'll feel like you have to be part of. But instead of playing on your worst weaknesses, it's going to play on your best strengths instead. So instead of codependency makes you weaker over time. It drains you. It blocks you from achieving the perfect you.
Yes.
To achieve your dreams. It will keep you in a state of being locked in to a certain state, right? That's very codependent. Twin flame, it might feel codependent, but once you realize what it is, it will actually allow you to achieve your wildest dreams and your biggest desires. Yeah.
And how does one know that in those early stages where you're like, I don't want to become codependent? How do you know?
What he's told me is he wished at the time that he had listened to his heart. So that's what you need to be doing, is really go in the heart space and really ask yourself those questions. Why am I feeling this way? What's really going on? Am I, do I need this person in my life, or do I need them because A, B, C, and D? If you need them for a reason, it's probably codependent. If you need them just because you need them, it's probably a twin flame. And that can be really hard to discern. So I'm not saying that this is easy, because it's not. It could take you a long time to figure that out. So again, be gentle to yourself. Don't stay in a frustrated mode for too long. or in angry mode for too long. Like you just really like, again, learn to forgive yourself and them, and then move through it and
Yeah.
figure it out. And of course, it's easier said than done. Like this is
Yeah.
all a process though. This is why I call it a journey.
Yes, no, and this is so helpful because often I think a lot of people, there's first of all there's a lot of confusion about what it is and how it works, but we don't make these questions sometimes. It's just like you're feeling a lot of emotion and it's difficult, and really understanding that maybe there's a reason, and there's always a reason to
There's
help.
always a reason. There's always a plan. And that's the thing
Yeah.
I've always, oh, I used to be the kind of person that was like, there's no plan,
Mm-hmm.
there's no bigger pictures. We're just here to be, or, there's
Yep.
no point to life type of thing. I used to be that type of thinker when I was asleep. But in the times where I wasn't, I've always known that there was more. I've always been connected to
Yes.
spirit in some fashion, even at my densest.
Yes.
But yeah, now I know for 110%. He tells me this all the time. He's like,
Wow.
we're on their journey, we're, achieving our destiny and all that like
Yeah.
beautiful stuff. I'm like, this is so cheesy. Like sometimes I have to do reality checks with
Yeah.
myself. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
But no, he's totally right. Because the more I trust him and the
Mm-hmm.
more I follow that guidance, it's leading me to places I've always dreamed about being.
Wow.
And I've never had the courage or the being able to see the direction, be able to see the road. It's like I didn't have the map before, where now I'm being led a little bit, it's like, oh, we're going here, we're going here. So, which is really awesome.
It is awesome and super fascinating. I'm so excited to learn more, and as you document this journey in your YouTube videos and share more, it's just very dynamic. It's evolving. We know
Mhm.
there's always chapters for everyone to kind of just live through.
Yeah, it's been absolutely probably the most life-changing experiences
Mm-hmm.
ever. Every time I've had to go through something with my twin flame, it's turned my whole entire life upside down every single time. And I keep thinking, oh, this is it. This is
Yeah.
the last time my world will shift, and it's probably not. I'm getting to a point where I'm just like, you know what? Maybe this is just how it is.
Yeah, exactly. So appreciative of you sharing all this with everybody. I wanted to just quickly ask you before we wrap up, what is a good resource, a book or a podcast or a movie or something that you can recommend to everyone?
You know what? I'm actually going to recommend two people. I'm gonna boost two people if that's okay. Shout outs.
Okay.
So first person has been absolutely instrumental in my journey in connecting to my twin and learning how to open, my clairs and all that, because I did not know anything. I was like,
Yeah.
what is happening? And that is Vanessa Stewart from spiritguideconnection.com.
Great.
So
Thank
she's
you.
she's a medium, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, she's a wonderful soul coach.
Yeah.
And the next people I would love to recommend on YouTube is Twinfinity.
Ah,
And they are Angie and Rob, and they're a wonderful twin flame couple.
they
They've
are. Yeah.
documented their entire journey. They still
Yeah.
make weekly videos, I
Yeah.
think. And I've met them in person, and they're just like the most awesome,
Yeah.
awesome couple ever. So those are my two recommendations.
Thank you again, Cindy. This has been really educational and fun. And fun as well. I mean, this is a great topic. And I want to thank all of you for being here with us and joining in on this broadcast. Thank you to Cindy. Lots of love to you and your twin flame as well. I hope I see all of you guys soon. All right. So lots of love, everyone. Mwah.